Chapter 1, Velvet Eyes and Shadows. Rosewood Art Gallery, Evening. Golden lights shimmered across the tall windows of the Rosewood Gallery in downtown London. It was Elena's biggest exhibition yet. Soft jazz played in the background, expensive champagne was being passed on silver trays, and the crowd murmured with cultured awe as they admired her curation of romantic surrealist art. Elena Rosewood, elegant in a wine-colored backless dress, floated through the room like a flame in control of its fire. Her long honey-brown hair was tucked behind one ear, diamond studs sparkling beneath it. Her laugh was warm. Her eyes, alive. By her side, as always, was Julian Whitmore, her boyfriend of nearly 18 months. A tall man with brooding gray eyes, ink on his fingers, and lips that always looked like they were thinking about kissing something. A writer. A dreamer. And to Elena, her muse and mystery. He had his arm around her waist, smiling at the guests, but his gaze often wandered. Sebastian Vale. The doors opened. Sebastian Vale, her best friend, walked in. He wore a sharp black turtleneck and a navy velvet blazer. His presence was like gravity, smooth, unapologetically confident, and seductive without effort. His dark auburn hair was tousled to perfection. Men and women alike turned to look at him as he walked through the gallery. Julian noticed him before Elena did. And his heart skipped. "He's here," Julian whispered. "Sebastian?" Elena's face lit up. "I wasn't sure he'd make it." She walked ahead to greet him. Julian remained behind, watching as they hugged tightly, too tightly. He couldn't help noticing how Sebastian looked at her. With affection, yes, but there was something more behind his eyes. Something guarded. Secretive. When Sebastian turned to greet Julian, it was brief, yet intense. "Julian." "Sebastian." A nod. A smirk. A flicker of fire passed between them unnoticed by the world around. Gallery courtyard, later that night. The event had calmed. Guests had begun to leave. Elena was inside helping the staff organize things. Sebastian and Julian found themselves alone in the dimly lit courtyard outside, string lights glowing overhead like quiet stars. A soft drizzle misted the air. Sebastian lit a cigarette, then offered one to Julian. "I quit," Julian said, accepting it anyway. They stood close. Too close. "You look different tonight," Sebastian murmured. "You always say that. And you always let me." Julian turned toward him, the cigarette forgotten in his fingers. Their eyes locked. The air between them turned thick. "Does she know?" Sebastian asked suddenly, quietly. Julian's stomach tightened. "No." "About you? About me being, not just hers?" Sebastian took a slow drag and exhaled smoke between them. "Julian, I've seen the way you look at me." Julian stayed silent. "Say it," Sebastian urged, voice lower now. "Say you've thought about it." "I've thought about it," Julian whispered, voice barely audible. Sebastian stepped closer. Their faces inches apart. Breath mingled. "And if I kissed you right now?" Julian's hand tightened around the cigarette. He dropped it. "Then I wouldn't stop you." Sebastian leaned in, a slow, burning movement. Their lips brushed. Once. A soft contact, like asking permission. Then again. This time deeper. Julian responded, his hands moved to Sebastian's jacket, gripping him. The kiss turned passionate, hungry. A soft moan escaped, and when they broke apart, their foreheads rested together. "Shit," Julian whispered. "Tell me to leave," Sebastian said. "I don't want to." "Then meet me again." Elena's apartment, midnight. Julian returned home late. Elena was asleep in bed, her back to him, her skin glowing in the moonlight. He lay beside her silently, her warmth pressing against him. And all he could think of was Sebastian's lips. The taste of cigarettes and sin. And how, for the first time in his life, he didn't feel confused. He felt alive. But beside him lay the woman he loved. And now, someone else did too. End of chapter 1. Julian stood at the edge of the rain-slick sidewalk, fingers shaking slightly as he dialed the number. It was just past 10 p.m., and he'd told Elena he was going out for a walk to clear his head. She smiled, kissed his cheek, and returned to reading on the couch, bathed in the soft glow of the living room lamp. She looked beautiful, peaceful, and it made his chest tighten with guilt. The phone rang once. Then again. And then he heard Sebastian's voice. "You came," Sebastian said. Not a question. A statement. He sounded like he'd been expecting him all along. Julian didn't answer. He didn't need to. The door to Sebastian's apartment opened almost immediately. He was wearing a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up, chest rising and falling like he, too, was holding back something feral. His eyes, dark, curious, dangerous, swept over Julian like a secret being memorized. Julian stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind him. Neither spoke. They stood there in the dim hallway, heartbeats in sync, a silence so charged it felt like thunder was vibrating through the floor. "I shouldn't be here," Julian said softly. "But you are," Sebastian replied, stepping closer. They didn't move at first. Just looked at each other, every breath, every inch between them asking permission. Sebastian's hand reached up, brushed a strand of hair from Julian's forehead. Then the kiss came. Soft. Slow. Not rushed like last time. It was deep, exploratory. Their mouths moved with aching patience. Hands found hips, backs, hair. Julian's coat slid off, forgotten on the floor. Sebastian led him slowly to the bedroom. There were no words spoken. The silence between them said more than conversation ever could. Moonlight pooled through sheer curtains, bathing the bed in silver. Sebastian unbuttoned Julian's shirt, kissing down his chest with lips that worshipped. Julian's hands ran across Sebastian's neck, jaw, the edge of his shoulders. Every touch was uncharted territory. They sank onto the bed, lips tangled, limbs entwined. Their bodies moved slowly, learning each other, how skin responded, how breath caught when fingertips grazed the right spot. When Sebastian whispered, "I want to make you forget everything else," Julian trembled. And then he did. They made love with a tenderness born of restraint, of long-denied truths. It wasn't wild or fast. It was quiet, intense, vulnerable. Julian let go, of labels, of guilt, of the mask he wore even with Elena. Afterward, they lay facing each other, bodies tangled beneath the sheets. Their breathing had slowed, their hearts still racing. Julian touched Sebastian's cheek. "This isn't just physical, is it?" he asked, voice barely a whisper. "No," Sebastian replied. "Not for me. It never was. I don't know what this means." Sebastian reached down, gently intertwining their fingers. "It means you're allowed to love more than one person. It means you're allowed to be all of you." Julian stared up at the ceiling, then turned back to him. "Elena doesn't know. She doesn't even know he stopped. "Bisexual," Sebastian finished. Julian nodded. "She deserves the truth," Sebastian said quietly. "Not just about us. But about you." Julian looked at the clock. It was 1:14 a.m. "I need to go." Sebastian leaned in and pressed a kiss to his collarbone. "Don't lie to her. Not just because it's wrong, but because you love her." Julian dressed in silence. As he opened the door, he turned back for one last look. Sebastian stood in the doorway, shirtless, the bedsheets tangled behind him like a war they had just survived. Julian wanted to say something. Anything. But words failed him. So he left. He walked home under the early morning rain, the streets empty, his heart full of confusion and longing. He loved Elena. But now he knew. He loved Sebastian too. And it was no longer something he could hide. Julian hadn't been the same. Elena noticed it in the small, quiet spaces of their life together. How he held her just a little tighter before pulling away. How his kisses lingered, but never deepened like before. How his eyes, always full of poetry, now carried something unspoken. She didn't say anything, not yet. But her intuition whispered to her every night. He was hiding something. So she did the one thing she knew would pull the truth closer. She invited Sebastian over for dinner. It had been weeks since she'd last seen her best friend properly. They'd exchanged the usual texts, voice notes, check-ins, but something had changed. There was a distance in Sebastian's responses. A hesitance. And when he finally accepted her dinner invitation, the message was simple. I'll come. 8 p.m. Red or white? She told him to bring red. That evening, the apartment smelled of roasted garlic, tomato confit, and red wine simmering in a pot. Elena moved around her kitchen gracefully in a soft champagne satin slip dress. Her bare shoulders gleamed under the pendant light. She had tied her hair into a lazy bun, gold hoops brushing her neck. Julian sat at the dining table, watching her in silence. He hadn't touched his wine. His foot tapped the floor softly. You okay? She asked without turning. Yeah. Just tired, he replied. She nodded, not pushing. At 8:12 p.m., the doorbell rang. Julian stood up, but she was already there. She opened the door, and there stood Sebastian. He looked every bit the man who knew the effect he had on people, sharp black trousers, a fitted white linen shirt unbuttoned at the top, his collarbones just visible, sleeves rolled up. His auburn hair was slicked back loosely, and a bottle of red wine dangled from one hand. Elena grinned. You're late. You're radiant, he replied, stepping inside and kissing her cheek. Good to see you, Jules. Julian nodded. You too. The first 20 minutes felt like old times. Laughter filled the room, memories spilled from lips, stories from college resurfaced like seashells in low tide. But the tension lay beneath, growing slowly like a wave beneath calm water. Julian barely looked at Sebastian. But Sebastian noticed everything. The way Julian's hand hovered when Elena touched him. The way his jaw clenched when their knees brushed under the table. The way he avoided his gaze. After dinner, Elena excused herself to the kitchen, humming softly as she collected the dishes. Julian stood quickly. Let me help. Don't, Sebastian said, so softly only Julian heard. They were alone now. Just the two of them. Julian's voice was a whisper. This was a mistake. Was it? I can't lie to her anymore. Then don't. Julian's eyes flicked toward the kitchen. He could see Elena moving, her silhouette gentle, unaware. She loves me, he whispered. She's not the only one, Sebastian replied. Julian turned back to him. His eyes were glassy. You think she knows? I think she's always known something. Behind them, Elena paused. Quietly. She was just outside their view, the edge of the wall hiding her. She hadn't meant to eavesdrop, but their voices were too quiet. Too sharp. She listened. Not to the words. To the silence between them. To the gravity. To the weight of everything unsaid. When she returned with coffee, her smile didn't reach her eyes. She offered Sebastian a mug, her fingers brushing his briefly. She felt him stiffen. She saw Julian's throat tighten. She didn't speak of it that night. But when they were in bed later, her body curled into Julian's like it always was, her fingers idly traced the line of his ribs. And then she asked, softly, gently, have you wanted someone else, while being with me? Julian stopped breathing. Elena. I don't want to fight. I don't want a lie. Just tell me the truth. He turned to face her. The shadows made his face unreadable. I kissed him. Her lips parted slightly. Not from shock, but from the confirmation of what she already knew. Her voice stayed calm. Just once. No. Do you love him? Yes. And me? Julian looked at her then. Always. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She looked away, then back at him. I want to see him. What? I want to see the man you fell for. I want to look in his eyes and understand what you saw. Elena. I don't forgive you yet. I don't know if I will. But I want the truth. All of it. Julian blinked. She wasn't running. She was walking toward the storm with her eyes wide open. And he suddenly realized that the love he was trying to split in two might not need to be split at all. She stepped between them. Her hands reached for Julian's face, her fingers brushing along his jaw with the gentleness of a memory trying to return. His breath caught in his throat, not from fear, but from the way she looked at him now. Not just as a lover, or a betrayed woman, but as someone who still knew every part of him and was willing to feel even the pieces she hadn't touched before. Then she turned. Sebastian stood frozen, unsure whether to back away or stay, unsure if this was a dream or a test. But she took his hand, slowly, guiding it to her waist. He flinched as their fingers touched, but she didn't let go. I want to know the truth, she said. Even if it hurts. Julian moved closer. His hand grazed Sebastian's shoulder, and their eyes locked, the tension between them no longer hidden, no longer something to be ashamed of. They had loved each other in secret. Hidden under glances, disguised behind laughter. But now, it was in the open. Elena tilted her head up toward Sebastian, watching his lips like she was reading a new language. She leaned in first, and their mouths met, slowly, like a whisper becoming a song. His kiss was hesitant, respectful. But when Julian moved behind Elena and pressed against her back, his arms around her waist, something shifted. Their hearts started beating in rhythm. Julian kissed her shoulder, his breath warm against her skin, while his fingers found Sebastian's. The three of them, connected now, by more than just guilt or passion. It was raw, aching need. It was the confusion of love in too many directions. It was broken pieces trying to find shape in each other. Clothes fell to the floor like regrets being let go. Lips met lips. Tongues explored. Hands wandered with trembling curiosity, hesitant at first, then hungrier with every heartbeat. Elena kissed Julian with urgency, then turned to Sebastian with wonder. Julian and Sebastian kissed, this time without fear, the energy between them igniting the room. The night stretched long. Not rushed. Not mechanical. It was exploration. Every moan, every shiver, every shared breath was a confession. Afterward, silence returned. But not the heavy kind that follows betrayal. This one was soft, like peace settling in after a storm. They lay tangled on the bed, skin against skin, bodies warm and vulnerable. Elena spoke first. I don't know what this makes us. Julian brushed her hair from her face. Maybe it doesn't need a name. Sebastian kissed the back of her shoulder. Maybe this, just is. They didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for that moment, three broken hearts lay stitched together, not perfectly, not permanently, but bravely. And that was enough. The sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, painting soft golden stripes across the tangled sheets. Elena stirred first, her fingers lightly tracing the curve of Julian's chest, then drifting over to Sebastian's hand, which was still gently resting against her hip. No words were spoken at first. There was too much in the air, quiet awe, lingering vulnerability, and a strange, comforting warmth that none of them expected to feel after what had happened. Sebastian opened his eyes slowly, and the first thing he saw was Julian, already watching him. Julian whispered, "Morning." Sebastian gave a quiet nod, then looked at Elena. She was lying on her side now, facing them both, her expression unreadable. I thought I'd feel strange, she said softly. But I don't. Julian leaned in, kissing her forehead, then reached across to press his lips gently to Sebastian's shoulder. "I was afraid you'd hate me forever." "I did," she admitted. "For a while. But when I saw the way you looked at him, and when I saw how confused and hurt you were trying to hide who you are." She paused, pulling the sheet slightly over her chest, not out of shame, but simply to hold something in her hands. "I realized I didn't just lose a lover. I almost lost a part of myself that still wants you. Both of you." Sebastian sat up slightly, his voice soft. "We never meant to hurt you. We didn't even know what we were doing at first. It was unexpected. And beautiful," she added. Julian looked between them. "So, what now?" Elena sat up too, holding Julian's hand in one and reaching for Sebastian with the other. Her gaze was calm, steady. "I don't want to go back to how things were. I don't want to be just one piece of someone's life. I want honesty. I want connection. And maybe, just maybe, this strange, twisted triangle we've built can be something real." Sebastian raised her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles. Julian watched with a small, growing smile. The hours passed gently. They shared breakfast, laughter, moments of awkwardness and surprising comfort. Julian kissed Sebastian in the kitchen when Elena walked in, and instead of turning away, she walked up and joined the kiss, her hand sliding around Julian's neck, lips brushing his first, then moving to Sebastian's. Their chemistry wasn't perfect. There were nerves. There was hesitation. But there was also something freeing in knowing none of them had to hide anymore. Later that night, they lay together again, this time not with wild desire, but with slow-burning tenderness. Every touch was intentional. Every kiss, a promise. Julian pressed his lips to Elena's neck while Sebastian whispered affirmations into her ear. She arched between them, breathless, as hands explored her body with reverence. She returned the touch, her fingers running down Julian's back, then teasing down Sebastian's chest. They moved together like waves, rising and falling, holding and releasing. Whispers turned to gasps.